Hey, so Terrible Tim, we glad to have you here on another episode of Boxing the Business, where we have professional athletes such as boxers, professional promoters, professional boxing trainers, professional managers, to give you all a platform to be able to help educate the general public and other boxers uh, actively involved in the sport of boxing when it comes down to the business aspect and what goes on outside of the boxing ring. A lot of fans don't understand all the things that it entails to be able to have a professional boxing career and how to manage that when you don't understand the business and you're learning the business on the job. So, let me invite all of my audience in, and I'll invite your audience in as well. We are sitting here live with a living legend. I think that's almost an understatement. You are a living legend from the great city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You have been an outstanding All American football tight end. A lot of people don't know that about you. You've gained a scholarship uh, to Lincoln University in Missouri,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah. And then you became an amateur boxer. So welcome, two-time former heavyweight champion of the world, a man that needs no introduction. I would be remiss to not mention your good friend Brian, who's sitting next to you, but nobody wants to see Brian tonight. But we
Got it.
acknowledge Brian as well because he's sitting right next to you. But we're here, none other than Hall of Famer inductee himself, the great, terrible Tim Witherspoon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. And I know that we're going to have a lot more episodes because boxing has a lot of different areas that people would love to, get into. And I'm sure that you sharp and you ready to roll that ball. So I'm ready to do it too.
Awesome. Same here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about um, how you get inside of the sport of boxing as an amateur. Let's walk the audience through your amateur boxing career, starting with how did you actually get involved in boxing when you was an outstanding football star, all American, and you were playing basketball as well. Boxing was your third favorite sport. How did you get involved in boxing in the first place?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you that, but I wasn't. I was all Philadelphia, and I miss being like nationally known because of my marks and everything. And I think it was politics too, because it was this tight end. He was skinny. I played against him. I just wiped him out. But he got it before me. He could catch real good though.
Okay.
So was what happened was I was playing football in Missouri and I got hit. I caught a pass and I split these defensive backs and they grabbed my legs and on the way down this big linebacker like 6'6" hit me in my back and
Mm.
so I was trying to recover from it. It was near the end of the season, so I we left and I went home and so I really didn't take interest in it. But what really made me upset too was they told me if I take up phys ed, they're going to pass me through. And I didn't go to no classes.
In
And
high
I went
school or
when I went no college. And when I went
college?
home, I passed. When I went home, they sent me a passing grades, and I said, "Wow, they doing that in the university?" And I said, "Whoa!" So I went home. So um, when I went home, there was a couple of boxers boxing. Um, Buster Drayton, who just passed away, God bless him, rest in peace. He was a middleweight champion of the world. He took me to the gym first. That's how I got in. I went to the neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood was saying, "Can he fighting?" Because I wasn't a guy go around beating up on people, really
Yeah.
being aggressive. So Buster encouraged me and Keith to go to the gym, the old Passion gym right down there where Sylvester Stallone made the movie, the Rocky movie, right down there near the market. So that's what happened. That's where I started. I didn't know nothing about boxing, and we went to the wrong trainer too. So that's a lot of things the young people need to know is that when you go to the gym, don't just go directly to somebody. Wait and find out or ask around who's a good trainer when you go into the gym. So that's the first thing that young people need to know. When you go to a gym, do research, especially when you pass 22 and 3. When you're older, it's even worse to get the wrong trainer. So, like you was telling me, Tim, you was telling me, say, Tim, you got to let them know exactly certain steps to take when they go in the gym. So
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying. So when you go in the gym, make sure you do research. Make sure you talk to somebody before you go in the gym, and when you go in the gym, make sure you meet the right trainer. So
So with that being said, give me one, because you are a professional boxing trainer yourself, and you have your YouTube channel, and you're doing very, very well, and you analyze a lot of different MMA fights, pro fights, etc., etc. So give me one, give me one, and of course the audience, just one trait to look out for, so that an up and coming fighter, or somebody who wants to get in boxing, can see from a trainer to know if this is a good trainer or not. Give the audience
oh,
one trait you would say, one characteristic you would say.
well, see, you're naive. You're naive if you don't know boxing. When you walk into the gym, you don't really know. You
Yeah.
ask them what one thing that a person would recognize when he come to the gym, who's a good trainer or not, by people telling you. That's a good way to really know, because
Okay.
you don't really know yourself because you're learning how to box.
Right.
So it'd be nice that you do research. Go on the computer, ask people, get somebody. Just don't walk into the gym like I just said. Just don't walk
Right.
in. You can walk in, but don't commit to anything. That's what I'm saying about young people and the
Yeah.
people and people that's like older than 21. They definitely have to pick the right person because they don't have that much time to get in shape and fight for a title. So younger people have a better chance because they're getting in with somebody that really they're not supposed to be with, and then they'll find their way. By the time they're a certain age, they really didn't mess up. But if you older, 25 and 6, you got to pick the right guy. But when you're young, you can make that mistake. Oh, I didn't get the right guy. I'm gonna get this trainer after like 2 years.
Yeah.
After 2 years, oh, this ain't the right guy. I didn't know it. And then he get another trainer. But when you're 26 and 7 or 24 and 5, you don't have no time. So
Yeah.
make sure you get the right guy. Do a lot of research.
And you know what? That's an easier thing nowadays for people to do, what I like to call, as a businessman, due diligence, where they can do research on a lot of different trainers in their local area, because there is technology, social media, the internet. Back in your day, there was no internet, there was no social media to be able to do research on a trainer, or the atmosphere of the gym and all those things. So that's really good advice.
And real quick, and really, by hearsay and by what people say, you can find good trainers by, oh, that guy, they say he's a good trainer in that. But a lot of people walk in there where they walk in just trying to box. They don't ask, they don't research.
Yep, good point. Good point. So when you came in as an amateur, legend has it that you only had 7 amateur fights before you went pro, and you have one loss out of those 7 fights against Joe Frazier's son Marvis Frazier. Two losses. Two losses. One of those losses was by Joe Frazier's son Marvis Frazier.
The last fight.
The last fight. So walk us through your amateur career just a little bit.
Okay, real quick. Okay, now I picked the guy Clarence Booker, who was my Clarence Booker, who was my trainer. I went in there with Buster Drayton. Um, and no, wait a minute. What did you just say?
Your amateur career.
Okay. So this is when I was like saying boxing, man, is really rough because my very first fight, they put me in with a 5-time Golden Glove, this Spanish dude. Right here, I am, my very first fight, and they did that to me. So after the fight, my mouth was bloody. I
Yeah,
got like bruises and stuff. I went home. My mom said, "Tim," he said, "What the heck are you doing?" I said, I had a, she knew I was boxing. I said, I had my first fight, Mom. I lost. The guy that's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Clint Booker was a nice old head man, but he put me in there with a, he put me in there with a guy that he was 4 or 5 times Golden Glove champ, and he worked me around. He worked me around. I was sore. I had marks on my face. My
Sir.
mouth was bloody, cut up and stuff. And when I went home, I just said, "Man, this can't be like my whole career." I wasn't thinking about quitting, but I said, "I can't." But then I won my next five.
Wow.
On my next five or four, five, six. I won my next 4 or 5, and
Okay.
then I with Marvis Frazier. So I won my next one with guys that were my average and stuff, not
Yeah.
this 4 or 5 time Golden Glove guy or 4 time, 5 time Golden Glove guy. And then in the Golden Gloves, I got hooked up with Marvis Frazier, and he been fighting years, and I could have won the fight. I could
Mm.
have won the fight. So he got the decision. He got the decision. Um, and then after that, I just went on. I just
You
went on with my career.
So you just turned pro after 7 total amateur fights.
Yeah. After okay, after that, after my after the after I fought Marvis Frazier, um this trainer that was in that old Patchogue gym heard of me. He knew of me, Slim Robinson. We seen each other in the gym, and I was free. And what happened was Larry Holmes heard about me, and he hired me as a sparring partner. I'm gonna try to go fast. He hired me as
Talk to me.
no. He told my old trainer. They sent somebody down to my old trainer and asked him. Um, they said we want to hire Tim as a sparring partner. They're gonna pay me like 1,000, 1,500, a week or whatever. And my trainer never told me.
Wow.
That's what happened. So I was with Booker, Clarence Booker. He never told me, and so I left. I left and went and sparred with I was sparring with Saad Muhammad.
I was
Matthew.
I was
Yeah. So
I was going to.
what happened was they took me up to the camp because when I found out that Clarence Booker turned down that the thing that Larry Holmes wanted me to do, he wanted to be a sparring partner and pay me. That's when I left him and went up to Ali's camp and was a sparring partner for Matthew Saad Muhammad.
Yup. I was actually you walking me right through the early phases of your pro career. So once you got with Matthew Saad Muhammad and you went to Deer Lake, with Muhammad Ali. Around what year was that? Was that 1979, 1980?
Yeah, it was around that time, around 1980, 79, 79, 80. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How was it? Tell the fans how was it sharing the ring with the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali himself. How was
But
that experience, man?
wait a minute. I was sparring with Saad Muhammad. He was getting ready to fight John Conte, this English boxer.
Okay.
And so I was training with him, and then all of a sudden we was training one day, boxing, sparring, and then Muhammad Ali, a car pulls up, and then Muhammad Ali gets out, and everything closes down. Everybody like Ali here, we close it down, and
Did you know he was coming? Did you know
no,
Ali
we
was?
didn't know, but we was using this training camp.
Okay, yeah. His
Yeah,
facility. Y'all was using his facility to train.
yeah, yeah, up at
Okay.
Deer up
Up
in
in
Deer
Deer
Lake.
Lake.
So
Yeah.
everything closed down. When he came, we stopped boxing and stuff. And he came in. He said, "No, go ahead, finish boxing." So we finished boxing, and then he saw me sparring. He was like, "Hey man, I got a fight coming up with Larry Holmes, and I would like to hire you as a sparring partner." And I said, oh, my eyes went like that, and I said, "Okay, that's cool," And that's how everything started. So um after we exchanged phone numbers, and then Shah Muhammad went and fought, and he knocked out John Conte, and he knocked out John Conte and retained his title. Then Ali and them called me, and that's when I went back up Deer Lake to be his sparring partner.
Wow. So it basically came around full circle for you because when your former trainer coming up in the early parts of your career didn't tell you about the money and what Larry Holmes was going to offer you, he didn't accept that. But it just so happened that the great Ali was actually training to fight Larry Holmes and he offered you the money. So
Yeah,
you
But you know what? That's when I realized about certain trainers, when my trainer didn't tell me that this was offered, this was offered to me, and I started saying, wow, this is how boxing really is going to be for me. And I got kind of discouraged about it, that he didn't tell me, because that's when I learned that about how good he was. He didn't want me to see, he didn't want me to go out there. The reason why he didn't want me to go up there is because I would have seen other trainers that was better than him. So he kept that hidden. He tried to stop me from going because he knew once I leave and go somewhere else, I was going to see a big difference in a lot of different styles and everything. And I wouldn't want him to be my trainer, but he was a nice guy. That's what happened. He didn't tell me because he knew that would be our last days, because I would have
Yeah.
seen somebody way better than him and left. And that's
Now
what I did.
let me ask you something about that. That's a very interesting point that you brought up because as a boxing manager, I've seen that so many times in the sport where sometimes the trainer kind of hold the fighter back and the fighter can actually reach his or her full potential, but there's something in the trainer that just do not want a fighter to move away and kind of grow and develop. Do you think that that was something that was happening even back then in your era?
Oh yeah. And it happens a lot. There's a lot of trainers, a lot of so-called trainers, they'll hold you back from greatness, and they'll hold you back because they don't want you to know that there's more knowledge out there. And they're hurting the boxer by not telling him the truth. I can understand a guy, I got a good boxer, I'm gonna keep him and stuff like that. I don't want him to leave me. But it's really selfish for a trainer or somebody to do that to somebody. They can get hurt because they don't have the right person with them and all that. So this is what I was getting hit, man, and I was like, something's wrong, and
Yeah,
and I found out that it was my trainer
yeah.
by me. And I'm going looking at other trainers. I went other places. So Clarence Booker didn't want me to go because he knew that would be his last days. And I found
So
that out. Later on, when I win the title, I went back to his gym with the belt in my hand and told him I want to help him. And he said he wouldn't let me in his gym.
so he was still bitter about that, that you had moved on from
Yeah,
him.
but I wanted to help him. I wanted
Yeah,
to help. That's
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Me.
That's your nature.
That's
Yeah.
me. I won the title, so I went to his gym with the belt, and I said, Mr. Booker, listen, man, I want to help you. Okay? He said, I'm gonna come by. He said, no, don't come in my gym.
Wow. So
Yeah.
so so basically, what you're saying in essence is, terrible Tim, is that a lot of trainers don't have the confidence within their own abilities to take a fighter past their ceiling, and so they get a little bit, insecure about a fighter leaving them and possibly becoming greater than what they were with the trainer. I guess
Well,
that's
a
what
lot
you're.
of them don't even. A lot of them don't even care and don't like. They don't really know. They don't really know how to take a boxer to the top. They'll
Yeah.
just go down chip with them. They'll just take some of them take get boxers and just train them and try to keep them away from other people, keep them from finding out that they're not really good. And I think that's selfish
Yeah.
for a guy that's training boxers to do things like that. And I've seen it happen a whole lot of times.
Me
I see
too.
guys training guys, and I said, "Whoa, this guy gonna get that kid killed." But
Yeah.
what can you say?
Yeah.
What can you say to this? But that's how it is, man. That's how it is. If you don't get somebody to do research, you might be in a bad shape if you want to start boxing.
So that brings up my next point. So it's always good to have good representation, a good manager, someone who has the best interest of a fighter, especially entering into the sport of boxing. Is that something that you recognize, that it's always good to have good representation, like a good boxing manager in the sport?
Well, a lot of young people don't know. A lot of us guys, we don't know. You just walk in the gym. New boxers, they go in. It's not like you just walk in the gym. You don't know who's who. You don't know the industry. You don't know what they're doing. So we need to do is advise these new boxers is do research before you go in. Talk to a former boxer. Talk to somebody direct you. There's a lot of boxers going in the gym is just getting anybody. But I'm suggesting that if you're really serious about boxing, do research now, because I didn't do research, and there's a lot of boxers that didn't, and a lot of them wound up brain dead. A lot of them not successful, and there's some that was successful. But not but by not knowing and still sticking with the guy, and they made the guy bigger. But the best thing to do is do research. Back then, I just wanted to go into the gym, and we just went there. We didn't know who was we, and the guy who was training us. Later
Yeah.
on, we found out that he really wasn't that good. But you want somebody that's good. You do research, get friends, call somebody. This is a message out to all these young people that want to be boxers. Make sure you do research because you might get the wrong guy.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And
Yeah.
so in your career, you've had a total of 14 professional fights before you got a shot at the title with Larry Holmes. So
Yes.
before we get to that, there's a few things that happened in between that in the interim. The first thing that happened was you did actually eventually got a boxing manager. Can you speak to that? I know you and I talked outside of the camera part, and you talked to me about Mark Stewart. There was a book that was written by the late great, you know who his name is, Jack Newfield,
Jack
right?
Newfield. Yeah.
Right? And he did one particular section in this book called "The Lost Generation of Heavyweights," and you were the main heavyweight that was highlighted in this book. The book was mainly about the practices of Don King. But my point is, you did have management, as Jack Newfield interviewed you years ago with Mark Stewart. Can you walk us through how you met Mark Stewart? How did he
Okay.
become your manager earlier on in your career?
Okay. So I'm gonna try to do it go fast. So we in Passyunk Gym. Slim Jim Robinson was one of the best trainers around. He was in that gym, and he seen me and my brother Anthony. Boy, my brother Anthony could punch. He had 14 straight knockouts. But they knew that we had potential, but they couldn't touch us because we was loyal to the old man Booker. So yeah, so after I left Booker, I forgot how I got in touch with Slim. I bumped into him or something. No, this would happen. This okay. I started working at Pennsylvania Hospital, and there was a doctor there. There was a doctor there that got in touch with me. He used to come by. I worked in the kitchen area, and he would come by and say hi to me and stuff like that. So I was saying, yeah, man, I'm starting to train and stuff like. He said, oh yeah, and he heard about me fighting Marvis Frazier and all that. He said, do you got a manager or something? I said, not really. And so he said, well, I got some people that are look that want to look, talk to you, maybe represent you and all that. And I said, okay. So he took me to Mark Stewart. He took me to Mark Stewart. So him and his dad, his name was Schwartz, something Schwartz, Ira Schwartz. He was a doctor in Pennsylvania Hospital. So he took me, him and his dad took me to Slim Robinson, the great trainer, and Mark Stewart, who dealt with music. Captain Sky, Brandy Wells,
Mhm.
Fat Man. He was music. And we all stayed in the same building on Spruce Street.
Mhm.
Um, so he took me to him, and what I did was it's kind of that happened a long time ago.
Yeah, I understand.
But he took us and he said, I'm going to make sure that you guys are going to be champ. You and your brother, Artie McLeod was Bernard Hopkins' uncle. He was with us. Greg Robinson, Slim Robinson, nephew. We was all living in 12th and Spruce, with the musicians. So this is when I'm first learning about um, contracts and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we got the contracts. We got the contracts. We signed them. I trusted him. But they got rid of the doctors that brought us there. They saw that me and my brother and a couple of guys were real good. So they got this is business, man, and this is what you're trying to get the boxers not to do, make the wrong decision. So
Correct.
my manager that I signed with got rid of the other two guys that originally brought me. And I was like, boxing must be really messed up. Man, they were nice Jewish guys and he was Jewish too, but he got rid of them. He got rid of them, and then we signed with him. We signed with Mark Stewart. He's taking care of us. Um, he was telling us about the business. He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna make Don King pay big time. Y'all just train." So me and my brother kept winning back to back. He won, I won. He won, I won. We was compared. I was 10-0. He was 9-0. Um,
Wow.
yeah, my brother, he was 10-0. Uh, and then I went to I think it was 11-0. Um, then he said, this is what Martin Stewart said. Listen, Tim, we're gonna make Don King pay you. He said, you keep training hard, you keep working, and let me handle the business. We're gonna make Don King pay you. So then one of his partner who was a dentist, Larry Levin, everybody know that name, Dr. Snow. He was a dentist. They were selling drugs. They were selling kilos, and we
Hmm.
didn't know. They was the nicest guys, Marty. They was the nicest guys around.
Yep.
You know, and they was selling drugs. See, we didn't know. We was getting money. We was living in 12th and Spruce. We had apartments and stuff. All the boxers, the musicians, and I was wondering why everybody was sniffing when we walk into the office. You see everybody doing this. The secretary, all the workers, everybody sniffing, right? And so and we found out that they got busted, and so Mark Stewart called us and said, "Look, it was me, Artie McLeod, there was a whole bunch of other boxers, Sterling Quick." He said, "Look, man, I'm gonna sell y'all. I'm gonna hook you up with Don King because we might go to jail. We might get incarcerated. This was happening to us. So if you look up Larry Levin, you'll see what happened. That's how we wound up with Don King.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
And Mark Stewart was charged and he was convicted for that and the tax scheme that he was doing and all of those things he was convicted.
Oh, right.
According to information that was in the same book that Jack Newfield um, authored with you in it in that same section.
Yeah,
So
Mark's sharp. He was sharp businessman.
So
He
he
was
was a
sharp.
good businessman. So what he was doing was he was looking out for you, and he had your best interest at heart. Even though he had
Yeah.
some bad mistakes that he had made in his personal life, he had your best interest at heart, and he still was trying to get you the opportunity to basically advance your career. So that's how he sold his managerial interest to Carl King, which was the
No,
uh,
Don King.
right, but I mean, Carl King was the front because he became the manager on paper, correct?
Yeah, Don King was controlled everything, and Carl
Right.
King. Yeah, Carl King was just there.
He
He was
was
just.
just there, and so he was the manager on paper. But even though he was Don King's stepson, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So now, walk us through your experience because you had good management coming up. So that was a plus for you. And
Yeah.
even with that, even though I'm sure you had some sour tastes in your mouth in the past about Don, right? Um, Don King helped you get to the title shot with Larry Holmes. Would you say that he had his hand involved in helping you get the title shot with Larry Holmes at 14-0?
Yeah. Yeah. See, he was involved with it. So what happened was when Mark Stewart and them got busted, he sold us to Don. We was fighting for Don King and didn't even know it. So
That's
we went
correct.
to fights. Me and my brother went to fights, and we didn't know that we was really under Don because Mark Stewart didn't tell us then. And we later on found out that that we was signed up with him because I was wondering. We was down Atlantic City, and I'm fighting. I'm standing up, getting ready to go in the ring, and I hear, yeah, Timmy Witherspoon. It's gonna be me and you, man, me and you. I heard all this loud noise, and I looked. He said it's gonna be me and you, and walked around there. And that at that time we was already with him and didn't know it. We
Yeah.
didn't know. My brother Anthony didn't want to go. He didn't want to go. I went ahead and went with him because that was the thing. So go ahead. Don
No,
King.
I'm with you, man. So at that point, Don King was your promoter, and he had his stepson Carl King on paper as your manager. So technically
Yeah,
speaking, you really didn't have a good manager because it was a conflict of interest for his stepson to be your manager and him being the promoter.
yeah,
Would you
it was
right?
because
Okay. And
really did.
so
He really didn't do no paperwork. All he did was just his father would tell him what to do, and then he did what his dad did. But later on, I tell you later on when we talk that he did feel for us and started hanging around us. Carl did because he couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm cool with Carl because I know that if he could have did something about it, he would have.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
I think that's the way the impression he gave us.
Yeah. And so he was in a tough spot. He was basically between a rock and a hard place. Of course, that's still his dad. He's still making money because he's working with his dad. He's learning the
Yeah.
business. So he was kind of in a between a stuck between a rock and a hard place. And so
Everybody
now,
say that.
uh,
Everybody say that, and a rock and a hard place.
yeah, and so speaking of a rock and a hard place, you found yourself in a rock and a hard place without having management or good representation because there was a situation that happened where you had an ear infection and then you had to go into the commissioner in Ohio, and Don King's from Ohio, and all of those things happened before you were supposed to fight a major fight. Can you speak to us about how did you get an ear infection and what happened leading up to the incident between you and Don King?
Yeah, I don't know how I got the ear infection, but I had got it. I was in training camp. I was in training camp up in Deer Lake. I was up in training camp in Deer Lake. I was scheduled to fight James Quick Tillis.
Yep.
Okay, so one day I was sparring, and then I got hit. I got hit like on the top. I didn't get hit in the air. I got hit in the top, and it shook, and it was really bad pain. I said, "Whoa." I said, something wrong. So I started sparring some more. I got hit again, and I started feeling. I said, whoa. I said, hey, something wrong. So Slim said, all right, take the gloves off. Take the gloves off. And then we went down to the doctors, the hospital. And when we went to the hospitals, they took tests. They looked at my ear, and the doctor said, you better not spar again because you might lose your equilibrium, your balance, or I had an ear infection. He said, or you can die. you know,
Wow.
yeah. So when she said that, I said, wow. And I'm fighting James Quick Tillis maybe 2 weeks is in front of us. So we went back and called Mark Stewart and told him, and Mark Stewart said, oh no, you're not. He said, no, you're not fighting. We're gonna talk to Don. Slim said that too. Slim said, my trainer. He said, no, you can't fight. So they called Don King, and then Don King said, yeah, come to Ohio, come to Ohio so we can tell the media, the newspapers and stuff that why you can't fight. So I'm a young guy. I don't know nothing. We flying in the airplane. We flew in the airplane to go to Ohio.
Now you said, hold on one second, Tim. Now you keep saying we. Who else was on the airplane with you going to go see Don King in Ohio?
I think it was Aaron Snowwell he was the second, or it's maybe Slim. I can't remember. We was
But was
flying.
the trainer? It was one of the training staff members, Slim Robinson or Aaron Snowwell.
Oh, you know who it was? It was my kids. It was your cousin. It was Tammy.
Tammy. Okay.
Yeah, Tammy flew with me. She flew with me, and that's my kid's mom. Tammy flew with me, and we stayed there. We stayed there, and but they said we was just going to come there to tell the media why I can't fight. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm going to tell the media, hey, I got an ear infection. So when I got there, they tried to get me to fight. Yeah, I'm supposed to tell them that I'm sick and all that. I got.
Wow.
So they said, so I got there. They had the press conference and everything, and I was like, yo, man, I can't fight. I got an ear infection. Didn't you see the doctor? I had the paperwork. The doctor said that it'll be really detrimental if I fight. I get hurt, lose my hearing and everything. Um, everybody thought I was going to fight when I got there. That's when I started learning. I said, "Wow, this is crazy. It's messed up." So I told them, "I'm not fighting. I'm not going to die and stuff like that." So I flew back home. They suspended me. So they took me in front of the Ohio boxing people
Commissioner.
and
Uh-huh.
they commissioner, and they officially suspended me. They made it, they took me there, they got the paperwork, and that's the only thing they wanted to do. They wanted to get me there in their jurisdiction so they could get me suspended, so they can control me. That's how I got with Don King. I wasn't with him when I flew over there. That's how they trapped me, and I got with Don King.
Got you.
So yeah, my ear was inspected. They and they suspended me because I wouldn't fight. First they
But
said, "Go
but
ahead."
they suspended you, right? But something happened for them to lift the suspension because you still were able to fight.
I signed. I had signed. Okay, so this what happened. So
Uh-huh.
I went home, and I was like, man, I'm gonna wait this out. I'm gonna wait this out. Went home and stuff, and I said, man, something might be wrong. I better. They didn't call me. I think I better go. I think I better call them and tell them that I'm gonna sign the contract because my career. Nobody called me. I was going like wasn't nothing going on. I maybe did a couple of runs, and it was like I was deserted. So I called them up. I told Aaron Snowwell, who was with me, my second. I told him to call Don King and them, um, and and tell them that I'm ready. That I'll take it. I'll take the deal. But they were squeezing me out, so I was like really, really. Not I wasn't suffering, but they was pushing it. They was pushing. I said, man, I don't know what might happen, so I took it. I went. I called. We called them. We flew in there. They made me sign the contract. I signed the contract, and then that was it.
And but in between that time when you came back home to Philly, your words not mine. You digged in your pockets and had nothing but mothballs coming out your pockets. Your quote, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Your quote.
It
Yeah.
was.
So you didn't.
And here it is, a young guy. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know
Yeah.
what was going on. I just wanted to go forward. Like my brother Anthony went with somebody else. I was just left there, and I just went by myself. And I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know nothing about the legal stuff and all that. So I just said, yeah, I'll do it. Once I signed it, I was fighting.
You was
Then I
fighting.
fought Chris Phillips and stopped them in the first round.
So you wound up getting the suspension lifted. Then you fought James Quick Tillis. And what round did you stop him in?
First round, he went.
First round.
He went 10 rounds with Tyson. I knocked him out in the first.
So he went 10 rounds with Tyson, but when he got in there with Terrible Tim, I know you hit him with that overhand right and knocked him
Exactly.
out.
I hit him with the overhand, and then he went down 3 times, and the ref stopped it.
Mm. And so you realize then how important it was to have good management, to have good representation. And because you didn't have it, you was forced to say, you know what, I need the money. My career is just stalling out. I'm between a rock and a hard place. What the heck? I'll just sign.
Yeah, I was immature, younger. Well,
Yeah,
and I didn't know nothing about the business. Just all this stuff was new to me,
yeah,
and so I just my brother Anthony wouldn't sign. He went with somebody else, and I signed with Don. I didn't know what I was doing. I just
yeah.
signed. Then I started getting in shape, and they sent me to Orwell, Ohio, at the training camp. And I know in my mind that I was with the right people, because of them not really treating the boxers properly. I knew that I just kept on fighting. That's what I did. Once I signed that paper and went with Don, it just kept on going up the ladder. You
Yeah.
know.
So Don King, even though you were moving up the ladder in your experiences with, Don King promotions, there were some issues with the money. You've been having some money issues with Don King. In other words, is uh,
You had to
you
get
weren't
what
being,
he give. You had to get what he give you. You
you had to
couldn't
get what he
negotiate.
gives you.
Couldn't
No
negotiate.
negotiation. You
No
couldn't bring
negotiate.
you couldn't bring a lawyer or a manager with you. You signed the paper and this is what it's going to be, right?
And
And
I signed it because I had momentum. I had momentum going. I was known to be a good, tough boxer, and everything. Slim Jim was my trainer, was teaching me. He added on. It was good. That was one of the things. Another reason why, because they knew we had a good trainer, we had a good team and stuff. So that was my first days of learning how boxing how bad boxing really was. So he lined me up with the fights. I kept winning, and he liked that. He liked that. He liked that I wasn't scared. I got in there. I was tough. He liked that, and then I established a good relationship with him, even though I know he was tricky and sneaky, and still was doing me wrong. He started liking me. We started talking. I just had to deal with it. I had to go ahead and learn and find out about boxing and about promoters and managers. But I didn't have time to do that. I just had time to train and
Yes.
keep. I learned about the stuff, don't the negative stuff, all the way up the ladder. I learned
Yeah.
about.
That's right. Yep. And this is why I was so you were one of the inspirations of me being motivated to get into business to inspire, educate, and empower other fighters, especially the ones that are up and coming, just
They
like
need.
yourself, who did not know the business, who don't
They,
understand how this works. Say that
yeah,
again. I couldn't.
they need people like you. There's not a lot of people like you in the boxing game that's really emphasizing on what you want to do, like help boxers out, teach them about contracts. We cannot do both, though. Let me say this: we need guys like you. I can't get in the ring thinking about the payday, thinking about contracts. If somebody tell you they do that they can do that, they ain't telling you the truth. I can't get in there and train, chop wood, run, spar, and do the business. You can't do it. You can't. If you those guys out there thinking they can, you can't. Your mind is not set for that. You can't do that. You need somebody that you can trust. That while you training, they got your back because it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard both.
And
You
it
can't.
wasn't and it wasn't just you, Tim. You actually was in the ring. Well, before you got to the ring, you was in the back in the dressing room, and Muhammad Ali, God rest his soul, he whispered something in your ear when you gave Muhammad Ali a hug. Can you please tell the audience what did Muhammad Ali whisper in your ear?
He said he said that you're going to get ripped off. He said something like you ain't going to get. That was like 30 years ago. He whispered, he said he's going to take your money or something like that. He
Yeah, he
said
said,
that.
you know you ain't gonna get paid. He told you.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he did. You know, I know. Listen, I know we talking about this, and like in the very end, I just left it all alone. Like, and I know we're gonna keep talking different stages about this, but in the very end, I just left it alone and went on about my life. But
Yeah,
I don't talk about Don anymore on these interviews. That's why I want to say this right now that I stopped talking about him. He know what he did. I know what I did, and so I'm going on with my life, and he could go on them labeling him as a certain as what he did. So yeah, it was crazy, man.
yeah.
It was,
And listen, I wasn't trying to lead you into, saying anything about Don or saying anything bad about the
no,
sport,
but it's
but I
okay
know.
about it. Long as
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tell you,
yeah. But we going yeah.
we,
This
it's
is your
okay.
ex yeah,
Yeah,
this is your experience. I'm not a media guy, Tim. You know me. I'm not a media guy.
okay.
I'm not a journalist or nothing. I just know that there's certain questions that you can answer and the audience can learn a lot from your experiences, and especially with what I do as a manager. And so, of course, we have to bring some of this stuff up about Don. I think that Don did some good things, and then Don did some things that were not pleasant, and he did do some things that hurt a lot of fighters, particularly when it came down to the money and
Yeah,
having you guys sign blank contracts with no words on it,
I signed a
just for
whole lot of
signature.
them. I
Huh?
signed a whole lot of them. Yep.
Yeah. And so things happen, but all of this is basically about not having good representation or learning the business. And like you
Very
said, you can't
important.
do both.
That's
You
very
know?
important. Can't do both. It's very important that you get somebody that you can trust, and to read your stuff and try to get you to sign the right documents. So I learned my lesson. There's a lot of other boxers learn their lessons. There's still some waiting to get ripped off. There's still people getting ripped off.
Yeah.
You just got to get that other guy because you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Can't
So
do it.
what would be the advice to an up and coming fighter? Would that be the advice for somebody just starting in the business and they're up and coming in the professional ranks? Would that be sort of like an advice you would tell them?
Well, up and coming site people in the beginning. You don't need no lawyer in the beginning, but you like you amateur and stuff like that. You don't need them, but when you turn them pro, you definitely need somebody you could trust, somebody that have your back 100%. And it may not be people guys out there. You might have to work yourself into a relationship with somebody that you could trust. You might get somebody that you don't trust, and you have to build it up. You might have to build it up. It's kind of hard when you're young,
Yeah,
and you get somebody, and you got to trust them, and they got to trust you, and you don't know what's going to happen. You keep winning, you keep winning. You just got to have somebody you could trust, man. That's that, and it's hard.
yeah, understood. So, what would you say your advice would be to an active fighter, someone who's not like up and coming, but they've been in the game just a little bit, but they haven't reached that full peak yet? Let's say if they're like 17-0, 18-0, or 15-4. Guys that have over 18 to 20 professional fights, or females too. What would your advice be to them, having them already been established in the business part of the sport with almost 20 fights or 15 fights? What would your advice be to a fighter like that?
Well, they should be already situated. They should be already situated, um, and have a good relationship with somebody who's representing them. And uh, let me see what I did. What I did, I just had you just got to trust people, and even you got a manager. You got to get somebody else to help, like a lawyer, to read your documents too. You got to
Yeah,
get like have an attorney that to read your stuff. I'm sure that an attorney will have try to get a good relationship with you and stuff like that, because when your lawyer gotta negotiate for you against the manager and the promoter and stuff like that. So you definitely have to get somebody you could trust. Um, Hopefully, as a family member that went to college and got a degree, but not all of us have that. So you got to get somebody that you could trust, and read your contracts, and go over them. Don't just rush and do it. Just take your time, make the right decisions, and then you got to make. And don't just and even the lawyer, you got have somebody else. I'm so paranoid. I might have a lawyer. I might get somebody else to look at it also with that lawyer. It's bad. It's kind of rough.
yeah, it's a
Trust
tough
me.
business.
That's me. Somebody else might get trust, but I've been ripped off a lot, so it's hard for me to trust.
Yeah. So how do you balance your life nowadays with you being a Hall of Famer, former two-time world champion, and now you're managing, excuse me, now you're training other fighters. For example, you train Little Timmy, you train Tim Witherspoon Jr., and then you have other fighters that you've trained after that, and you're still training now. How do you balance being a trainer right now in your life?
Well, really, I don't really want to walk around with a bucket and be like I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. But as far as being called a trainer, I don't want to be called that. Um, you know, I'm gonna make a new name for somebody like me. Uh, yeah, I don't want to be like a trainer.
Yeah.
So get a lot of respect. They don't get a lot of respect. Some of them. Um, and, his seafood, yeah. No, no. Listen, I don't want to carry a bucket. I know how to tape hands. I know how to do that. The reason why I want to do that too is a lot of people that don't know how to do it. There's a lot of bad trainers nowadays, and and I be feeling a certain way. I be walking around seeing there's a lot of there's not a lot of good trainers nowadays. The
You
box
have
the boxers are getting in shape and fighting and looking good, but there's some little things they're missing that could cause them to lose the fight that they need from them old time trainers. But I will I won't get in the ring. I'll get on the side and give information. But I really didn't want to be like a trainer. But
yeah.
but but I am. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. And things like that. So um I'm not too proud to like do it, but I prefer somebody else to get in the ring and give them the water, and I'll just give directions from the side. I don't want to be called a trainer. I got to figure out a name.
Well, one name is a teacher. That,
Okay.
that's your style of training. You
Yeah.
you are one of the last breed, and I'm just saying this personally, been around a lot of trainers. You are one of the last breed of old school trainers that teach true boxing fundamentals. That's just my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Yeah.
And so I would say you're a teacher. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay. Is there another name for that?
Um, We got to do some research on that.
A professor.
Well,
In American kung fu and karate, they call themselves professors.
Professors.
A professor.
That's what Brian said.
Well, you technically are a master of the art. You could be a master.
So you're a master.
I'm a master. Yeah.
So, somebody commented named Jeff Campbell. He said assistant.
Oh, no, an assistant is somebody that doesn't know that much, and he just assisting you, and he goes getting the water, or he assist you in this, or help you put on the gloves.
So you professor.
Yeah.
You're the professor. You're the
Okay.
professor.
We could figure something out later, but I'm not too proud to go up there and give them water, walk them down the aisles. Walk down aisles is okay, but my trainer got up and did the same thing. And I want people to say, "Oh, Tim, that's the trainer."
The boxing yogi. The yogi.
Something we could figure something out. We can figure
it out.
Engineer of boxing.
The guru, professor, boxing of engineer, but yeah, I do know a lot of skills, and I don't feel like stressed. I could really get it off. Like saying if I'm teaching somebody, it's no problem, and I feel good about that. And Slim taught me all that stuff, and I'm really grateful for so.
But I tell you what, you look good, you sound good, you have all of your faculties. You're not punch drunk.
I forget a lot. I do forget.
Yeah, you forget, but guess what? You remember stuff from 1980 in this small segment.
Okay.
So you got good memory, man. You look good for your age. You are a professor. You are a guru. And
girls,
Jack,
I want you to call the girls and tell them I look good for my age.
Oh, well, the girls already know that. They already know that. But Jack Newfield, he did give a name to you. Would you mind telling the audience the name that Jack Newfield gave for you back in the day?
He called me the Martin Luther King of boxing.
The Martin Luther King of boxing. Why did he call you the Martin Luther King of boxing?
Because I was sympathetic to a lot of things that was going on, and Don King was doing a lot of things. A lot of promoters was doing, and I would just stick up. I would just put my 2 cents in everything. When I got ripped off, I just felt real bad. I was getting ripped off. And if I seen somebody get ripped off, I would go over there and be a part of it. Say, look, man, what you doing to him? Why you doing that? Or I would go talk to him. If I found out this boxer was getting ripped off, I would call him up and say, what's going on, man? I would give a lot of support. Because I was around a lot of boxers that was getting ripped off, you know. And I said, and that's why Jack Newfield called me that, because he knew I was putting my every time something happened Don King camp, like we shot the camp up, right?
Whoa. Y'all shot up Don King's training camp?
They rebelled.
Oh man, I was trying to end this on a positive note. You brought it up. Speak on it.
Real quick.
What happened?
That I was champion, and I lend money to some of the boxers that they wait for to get paid every Friday. So I was lending guys money, and I was gonna get my money back. So it was Friday, and that's when they get paid. Carl King bring the checks around every Friday, and so one Friday he didn't come around. He didn't come around, so everybody's sitting there waiting. I want to get my money that I lend to people. So we all got in cars and drove around. It's about 3 miles away to Don King's mansion. Mansion and Carl King, they lived on the same complex. So we went straight to Carl King's. There's about 4 carloads of boxers. We went around there. And so we went to his house. He started knocking on the door. Bang, bang, bang. So I'm sitting there, just standing out front there too, waiting for them to come out, because I want to get paid too. And they kept banging. So they said, oh, he's not here. He must be went to Cleveland. Okay, so as soon as we start walking away, somebody said, "Oh, I seen something move up there." So he was in the house still.
So what did they see moving up there? What was
they
it?
saw their blinds moving. That meant somebody was in the house.
Okay.
So then they kept banging on the door and nobody answered. So we drove back around the camp. As soon as we got in the camp, everybody started getting out their cars. They was mad and everything. So they started breaking up everything, busting windows out. They started shooting the camp. They started shooting holes in the wall. They went inside. They went inside the building, shooting holes in the ceiling. And Don King knew because when it rained, it messed this brand new complex. It messed all the inside of the buildings up. So he flew in from California or Vegas, and he just got rid of a lot of people, man. I would say out of like if it was 50 people there, he got rid of like 35 people. You know,
Wow.
he brought them in. He got in the office, and you had to go in the office and sit in front of him, and he's like, I heard what you did. You gone. Somebody else came in. He was like, you don't get no money from me. Go back to your thing. He was like doing this. And when I came there, he said, I'm really disappointed. He said, you get out of here. He said that to me, and I walked out. So
Mm.
one, he had everybody come in, and so there was a guy named Abdul Rahman who was with Ali. He was Ali's security. Don King had him and this other person, Yusuf Shaw, who was Muslims, to protect him. See, these guys was big in Islam and Islam, and they and he knew that they could stop them other guys from coming to get him. So um Abdul Rahman, he said, man, y'all shot that camp up. Y'all the Raiders of boxing. That's what I'm talking to Brian about this. It was something big to happen. All the camp, Mitch Green had a shotgun. He shot a bird out the sky too.
Wow.
They
Gee.
started the place up and wrecked it up. They wrecked the place. They wrecked it up. And yeah, they wrecked the place up. And so Abdul Rahman said, man, y'all the Raiders. Y'all the Raiders of boxing. And so that's when we started keeping the name. We said, "Oh man, we the Raiders and stuff like that. We bad and all that." So we got brought shirts, hats, everything, to let people know that we rebelled against Don King. And we was doing it for like 10 years, and it died down a little bit. Everybody still know what we did and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to not let it die because Abdul Rahman died. He
Okay.
died, and he was in the camp telling us he was working for Don, but he was telling us what to do. He was telling us certain things about Don. He was like letting us know stuff. And so he gave us the name. And we had events where we all got together and we wore our stuff. And then it died down. And so I just want to keep it moving because of Abdul Rahman. You know, he helped us.
He helped you all. So you're using that negative momentum for positive enforcement, positive cause called Raiders of Boxing.
Yeah, so after before my fights, we would go Raiders, Raiders, walking out to the ring, Raiders, Raiders. And then I had little Tim. He let us out one time. I think it was a big fight. He was in the dressing room. He said, "Who are we?" And we said, "Raiders." He said, "Who are we?" We said, "Raiders." He said, "Who we gonna beat?" And we say the guy name, and we would do that, and that inspired us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something in boxing that I would like to keep going because of Abdul Rahman. Low battery. It's getting ready to go off.
Low battery.
Yeah, we got about 20%.
20%.
Well, we were going to end this segment of boxing the business. We had two-time former heavyweight champ Terrible Tim Witherspoon, Hall of Fame inductee. You are an ambassador of the sport, a professor, a guru, a master, and you are also the Martin Luther King of boxing because of your big heart. You won't find too many people. You can't find not too many people in the sport of boxing, even alive today, to say one bad thing about you. We appreciate and
Thank you.
thank you for your contribution that you not just made in the sport, growing up and learning the business, even though you had bad experiences, but even now that you're using those experiences to inspire and empower other people, you are an ambassador, and we appreciate your time.